Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome. Now, before we get started with official presentation and introduction, I just wanted to make sure everyone is set up with interpretation. So today's webinar will be conducted in English, and we will have Spanish and Arabic interpretation. So you will see in the chat function an explanation of how to access interpretation, but you can click on the globe icon at the bottom of your screen and select your preferred language. So we have English, Spanish, and Arabic will be now Japanese. So just click on Japanese if you need Arabic interpretation. We'll have to take this up with Zoom so that they have Arabic option available. And yes, you will have the specific instructions inside the chat box. Okay. We have 80 people in the 80 participants right now, and we've got a lot more that are likely to start coming in. But let's get started. We've got a very packed agenda. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone here from wherever you're calling from. Welcome to the Global Movement Against Statelessness first community call of the year. Today's call marks both the anniversary of the movement as well as an opportunity to reflect on our collective efforts to address statelessness. My name is Deepa Nambia, and I am deeply honored to be your moderator for today's very important event. Thank you all for your time and your presence here today. And in particular, we welcome, honor, and celebrate those present here who continue to struggle for the right to nationality and your right to have rights. You are seen and you are valued. Thank you for being here. I also wanted to take a quick moment to acknowledge the beautiful artwork that we just saw. The artist is Zahra Marwan. There's more details about her work on the chat. She's an American artist and writer, and her work mainly focuses on her early life as a stateless person in Kuwait and an immigrant in New Mexico. Zahra created an art book for the Second World Conference on Statelessness, which took place in Malaysia last year, and you can find more details about that in the chat. Okay, I'm ready to kick off. Are you ready? I'm really excited. We've got a really robust and incredible agenda for the next hour and a half. I'm going to kick off by just a quick reminder of what is the movement. The global movement against statelessness is a global community working towards a future free from statelessness, where nationality rights are equal and all stateless people can fully realize their human rights. Now, as we enter another year of this fight, we deeply acknowledge the difficulties that are ahead and that we are currently facing as a community, but also recognize the power of our collective movement. This call is a moment to strengthen our connections, foster solidarity, and reinforce our vision for a world without statelessness. So, what can you expect in the next hour and a half? A few things I wanted to highlight. The speakers and presenters will be recognizing progress made while openly discussing ongoing struggles, setbacks, and systemic barriers that continue to persist the movement. We are creating a space for a diverse range of participants, which you'll be hearing from very shortly, and especially those with lived experience of statelessness to share their insights, their challenges, and their priorities. We will also be hearing from one of the co-leads of the global movement on key updates on activities, upcoming events, and future plans to strengthen the movement's impact. There will also be video presentations from community organizations across 4 regions sharing about their work. We'll be seeing a photography presentation and a poetry reading, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end, and I'll explain a little bit more about how that will work. But what we are really hoping for at the end of this call is for all of us to feel inspired and to walk away with a concrete idea of opportunities for collaboration, for advocacy and engagement, so that all of you feel like you have a place in this movement. Now, a couple of logistical points we have, and you'll be able to see a chat function. So the 2 different functions, a chat function and a Q&A function. So we'll be using the chat function to introduce ourselves. Thank you for those of you who have started. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself again in a specific way. But give me a minute for that. You can use the chat function to share comments, reflections, engage with other participants, and the organizers will also be sharing information in the chat, so you can look out for that. Information about the speakers and the bios and just logistical information as needed. Separately, we have a Q&A function. And in the Q&A function, you can use that to ask questions for the panelists and the presenters so that the organizers can curate them and make sure that we are addressing your questions to the extent possible. We might not be able to get to all of them, but I would still encourage you to present those questions in the chat box so the movement can take those questions and reflect on them later on as well. And then the final note is that we really want this to be a safe and inclusive space for everyone. We have a lot of participants on the call. And we really want, to the extent possible, if you're comfortable, you can turn your cameras on, but that's not a requirement. It's always lovely to see beautiful faces on a call like this. But also note that the webinar will be recorded. Okay, I want to kick us off by having all of us introduce ourselves. And I want you to introduce yourself by writing 3 things in the chat in your preferred language. The first is your name. The second is where you call home. So it doesn't have to be where you're born. It doesn't have to be related to any legal status that you have. It's just the place, the city, the town that you call home. That's the second. And the third is 1 or 2 identities that you hold close to your heart. And once again, that does not have to be any legal identity, but it's an identity that is important to you. It can be an activist, it can be a mom, it can be a sibling, it can be a lifelong learner, any identity that you feel is important. Please write that in the chat. So 3 points, once again, your name, where you call home, and an identity or 2 or 3 that is important to you. And we'll give everyone a couple of moments to add that, and we can continue in the next 10 or 15 minutes. So absolutely no rush for that. Have a think about that. Buenos dias desde Brazil. Welcome. Hello, Indrajit from Nepal. Okay, so have a think and share throughout the next few minutes. We've got Muhammad Shiraj as a student facilitator. Hello from Cape Town, Uruguay. Okay, so we'll keep that coming. Please introduce yourselves and feel free to engage with each other. Now, just before we get started with the first official part of the agenda, which is the poetry reading, I want to take everyone through a moment of acknowledgement, contemplation, and silence. So I would encourage everyone to close your eyes for a minute. You can keep your camera off or on, up to you. So close your eyes. And we want to take this moment as a collective community to acknowledge the struggles and injustice faced by stateless populations all over the world, who continue to experience some of the worst forms of oppression, violence, and rights violations daily. We think of the brutal genocide of our Palestinian and Rohingya brothers and sisters happening as we speak, while recognizing the countless others living in the shadows who are facing isolated struggles that we may not have even heard of. We draw from the global movement's manifesto, and I quote, "We envision a world in which universal human rights, including the right to a nationality, are respected and upheld for all human beings." End quote. Now let's just take a moment of silence to honor, acknowledge, and solidify our vision and each of our individual commitment to action. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. You may open your eyes again and turn on the cameras if you wish. Okay, and now with that, and I apologize for my dog barking in the background, we're going to officially kick off today's event with a poetry reading by Patricia Low. Patricia is an activist impacted by Malaysia's gender unequal citizenship laws and serves as the research and policy coordinator at Family Frontiers. Patricia, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and greetings to everyone who is here. And thank you to the Global Movement for the opportunity to read this poem. And it's a poem that was written and performed exactly a year ago at the World Conference of Statelessness in Kuala Lumpur. And this piece is called These Threads. When a country embraces one, but shuts out another, leaving them to belong to none at all. No place to land, nowhere to go. What makes them them and us us? Circumstance is fortuitous fruit falling on laps. These are lines drawn by the hands of men, falling into gaps and cracks, pushed into the periphery, with only our beating hearts in our hands, pounding through the devastating silence. This unbearable weight of brokenness is hauled on the backs of babes, wielded by figures behind desks. The violent ripping apart of lines on maps, the sowing of unfounded fear made fertile by ignorance. When is home not a home? Where do we begin and where do we end? Roots unseen that run deep in our being, binding us with a belonging to kin, to land, and to each other. Belonging is not a gift to be bestowed by cruel hands. And yet we are here, and we breathe and move and live. Every breath is existence, and every breath is resistance. These fibers of our being, of lives lived, are threads that speak of loss and unspeakable horrors, of grief and fear, restrained hope and lived joys, a resulting resilience and a deep, deep longing. And we are these threads, a coming together weaving through one another, a tapestry of truth unfolding, and a tensile force of strength that no one can ever take away. Thank you.
Patricia, thank you so much. That was so beautiful. It was so heartbreaking and so inspiring at the same time. Thank you so much for sharing that. To all the participants, I'd love to hear if you could share one word that the poem has evoked in you as you were listening to it. Please feel free to share that in the chat. And Patricia, just a question to you before we turn to the next section. In just a few words, what message do you hope that the stateless community and those affected by the lack of citizenship will receive through your words?
That's a very good question. I think in pondering on it, I think if anything, it's the stateless communities that have informed and inspired both my work, and also my creative work. And most of my recent poems actually come from my lived experiences of gender discriminatory nationality laws in Malaysia. And this poem in its first form that was written for the conference was my first actually on the issue of statelessness. I think poets write the world they see, and poems reflect the nature of things, the state of being of life. And so this poem to me is not a message per se to the stateless community, but in part it is a message to states and governments that statelessness is systemic and a byproduct of terrible laws, discrimination, patriarchy, etc., and that they have the power to change the systems. These are lines drawn by men, and these are lines that can be redrawn by men. But the rest of the poem, I think, is a mirror of what I see is happening in this space, that each of us, that we are threads. And I especially love the imagery and act of weaving and the technique of weaving. And so we are singular threads of different colors and textures and weight. But when we come together in a movement like this, it is an act of weaving. And in this weaving, we are no longer singular threads, but a tapestry of stories and of strength.
That's lovely, Patricia. Your response itself sounded like a poem. That was really beautiful. Um, and just some responses coming in. A lot of compassion as the word that they feel when they hear your words. Depth, appreciation, inclusion, and hope. So thank you once again, Patricia. And now we're going to turn it over to some country videos. So we have 4 videos in total, but we're going to present 2 for now. And these 2 video messages are from organizations working in the field of statelessness and the right to nationality. The first is DXD from the Dominican Republic, and that will be followed by a video presentation by the Nubian Rights Forum from Kenya.
Mi nombre es Bene Cuenesia, soy el director de la plataforma Dominicano por Derecho en la República Dominicana. La plataforma Dominicano por Derecho es un espacio de articulación y de incidencia que aborda la problemática de la apatridia en el país. Es una apatridia generada por la sentencia 168-13 que excluye a los descendientes de padres migrantes haitianos del derecho a la nacionalidad. El fenómeno de la apatridia en República Dominicana es un fenómeno de más de 20 años que se agrava con la sentencia 168-13 que del Tribunal Constitucional Dominicano, que reza que no son dominicanos los hijos de extranjeros en situación irregularidad. Este fenómeno tiene implicaciones en el disfrute pleno del derecho porque deniega la nacionalidad a estas personas, pero al mismo tiempo limita el acceso a servicios y el disfrute de derechos, como es el tema de la educación, la salud, el empleo, vivienda digna. Limita el acceso a muchos de estos servicios, dado que para la obtención de estos servicios se requiere tener un documento, bien sea el acta o la cédula de identidad. A lo largo del trabajo de la plataforma Dominicano por Derecho, con la solidaridad nacional e internacional, tanto de organizaciones y de espacios de derechos a nivel de las Américas, hemos logrado que el Estado Dominicano promulgara la ley 169-14, con la cual se busca restituir la nacionalidad a todas las personas afectadas por la sentencia antes mencionada. Sin embargo, hay que reconocer también que esta misma ley segrega a la población en dos grupos. Una parte que debió obtener la nacionalidad o restituirse la nacionalidad de manera automática, y hay otra parte que tuvo que recurrir a un proceso de naturalización que implicó el registro en un libro de extranjería, que lamentablemente de 8.755 que se inscribieron, 0 han obtenido la nacionalidad. El fenómeno de la patria es un fenómeno global y en el caso de la República Dominicana afecta a más de 133.000 personas que fueron desnacionalizadas. De esto podemos plantear que más de 90.000 están pendientes de solución. Para una respuesta efectiva a esto, se requiere la solidaridad de las personas, las organizaciones, tanto en el ámbito nacional como internacional, como garantía de que nadie se quede sin una nacionalidad por las implicaciones sociales, económicas y políticas que tiene esto. Por lo tanto, hacemos un llamado a todos a sumarnos en esta lucha global para la restitución y el combate efectivo de la patria.
My name is Annette Opio, a paralegal with the Nubian Rights Forum, a non-governmental organization situated in the Kibra slums of Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Now, Kenya currently hosts an estimated 9,800 stateless persons following the government's decision to grant citizenship to 7,000 members of the Pemba community in 2023. Now, despite the progress, communities like the Nubians have continued to face difficulties in obtaining citizenship and remain at risk of being stateless. Now, some of the challenges these communities face at the moment include limited access to education, healthcare, employment, ability to open bank accounts, buy a house or any property, marry or get married, or access any government services. Now, the Nubian Rights, through advocacy, we help in accessing and application of citizenship documents. Now, we also provide civic education and help litigate issues affecting the communities, to be specific, the minority and marginalized communities in Kenya who face difficulties when it comes to accessing matters, documentation, that is citizenship documents, and are at risk of being stateless. Through the help of community paralegals, we are able to provide legal aid services and educate the community more on their rights when it comes to matters of citizenship. Now, some of our successes include the Huduma number case, or in English you can call it National Integrated Information Management System. And the case was a success, and with the help of us litigating, the courts were able to rule it as unconstitutional. Now, it is great how bigger platforms right now are having this conversation on statelessness and how they are embracing it. And with the help of the global movement against statelessness comes more awareness creation and understanding that stateless persons still have rights. And so I am here to the end and will be in this fight to see that we all belong.
Thank you so much, DXD and Nubian Rights Forum, for sharing the ongoing challenges that you're seeing around statelessness in the Dominican Republic and in Kenya, and very importantly, the important work that you are doing to help combat statelessness. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your context with all of us today. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears and we are going to move to a panel presentation on the global movement and the statelessness field more broadly. We have 4 incredible speakers who I'll be introducing very shortly, who will be sharing their insights on how their work relates to the movement. And with that, I'm going to welcome Marine, Sabine, Abbas, and Daniela. Turn on your screen so you can, all the participants can see you. Hello, welcome Marine, Daniela, Abbas, Sabine. Great, all of you are here. I'm going to briefly introduce them, and you'll be able to see more about their bios and their experience and background in the chat. And so first of all, I would love to introduce Marine Roman. Marine is the coordinator of the Global Alliance Secretariat. We also have Sabine Laribou, and she is the manager of the Global Statelessness Fund. Our third speaker is Abbas Talib, who is a human rights advocate and the global coordinator of the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights. And finally, but definitely not least, we have Daniela Lima Rodriguez. She is a youth activist and an 11th grade student from South Africa of Cuban parentage. Welcome, all of you. Now, I'm going to start with 4 different questions for each of you, and each of you will have around just 2 minutes to give an overview. So we'll start with Marine. Marine, can you share with all of us, how does the global movement against statelessness and the Global Alliance complement each other? And what types of collaboration would you like to see between the 2 initiatives?
Thank you so much, Deepa, and hello from sunny Geneva. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this community call and, of course, for the question. This call marks such an important occasion, the first anniversary of the movement, and having been present at its launch during the World Conference in Kuala Lumpur, I recall the profound sense of unity and determination that marked that event. So once again, congratulations, and it's a pleasure to be here. I've been tasked to speak about the complementarity of the global movement and the Global Alliance to End Statelessness within 2 minutes, which is extremely ambitious. So therefore, allow me to delve in directly. The global movement and the Global Alliance to End Statelessness, both launched in 2024, are historical initiatives against statelessness, bringing unique strengths, but when combined, create a formidable force for change. In contrast to the global movement, which is community-driven coalition, largely comprising stateless individuals and activists, the Global Alliance to End Statelessness operates as a collaborative multi-stakeholder platform, uniting governments, regional intergovernmental organizations, civil society, UN, and stateless-led organizations. Its mission is to create a world free from statelessness, where everyone enjoys the right to nationality without discrimination. So the vision and missions are aligned. But why Global Alliance and why now? One of the biggest learnings from the I Belong campaign, which concluded last year, was the importance of a multi-stakeholder approach to ending statelessness. So no organization, no entity can end statelessness alone. It requires sustained engagement by and from numerous stakeholders, especially from government. That's why the Global Alliance reflects this by forming a coalition where all of these actors have a seat at the same table for the first time, and where all stakeholders can work together to co-develop solutions, ensuring collective responsibility for progress. We currently have more than 140 members, including 23 governments, 11 regional intergovernmental organizations, and most importantly, about 2/3 of the members are civil society representatives and stateless-led organizations. Another key takeaway is that solutions must be shaped by those directly affected by statelessness. This is why the alliance creation was spearheaded by UNHCR with the assistance of an external task force, where organizations led by impacted individuals, as well as other stakeholders, had a very important role in guiding the creation and foundational elements of the alliance. And there's a continued commitment to center this important lived experience in the efforts of the Alliance, including through the Advisory Committee of the Global Alliance, which already includes 3 stateless-led organizations, including the Global Movement. But to quickly reflect on the complementarity, it's important to present it through a lens of unique opportunities for synergies. So there's a unique opportunity to amplify voices. So GMAS, grassroots activism, ensures that the lived experience of stateless individuals inform the Alliance's strategies and work streams, leading to more effective solutions. But also the Global Alliance access to governments and intergovernmental bodies can be leveraged to elevate the global movement's community-driven initiatives and insights, influencing policy reforms at national and international levels. In terms of how to maximize the impact of our collective efforts, GMAS and the Global Alliance should join efforts in advocacy campaigns in order to have combined grassroots momentum of the movement with the institutional reach of the Alliance towards governments to raise awareness and drive legislative reforms. Also, it's a way to share the platforms for storytelling, so to center individuals with lived experience as drivers of change. But also important opportunities to conduct capacity building workshops for our members, focus on key areas where we have seen least progress, where we have seen the biggest gaps, such as research and data collection, for example. But to keep it short, I know time is up. It is evident that the fight against statelessness requires both the grassroots activism embodied by the GMAS and the strategic multi-layered engagement and initiative spearheaded by the Global Alliance and its members. So by working together, aligning our strengths, we can accelerate and secure solutions for the millions of stateless people, individuals around the world, and move closer to the this deliverable or our goal of relegating statelessness to the history books. So let us continue to build on this foundation and unite in purpose and in action. And for those who have not yet joined the Global Alliance, you're welcome to do so at statelessnessalliance.org. Thank you so much, and back to you, Deepa.
Thank you so much, Maureen. And now, Sabine, I'll hand it over to you. And the question for you is, how does the fund envision the statelessness field, and how does the global movement fit within that vision?
Thank you so much, Deepa, and thank you everyone really for having me here and for inviting the fund to talk. It's a great opportunity. So the fund has grown out of initial discussions by movement members on the funding needs faced by stateless-led initiatives or impact-led initiatives. As a result, stateless and civil society activists and donors came together to develop and implement a participatory grant-making model, which means that stateless and impacted persons are at the center of decision-making in the fund, and they have been integral to the planning and implementation of the fund to date. The fund is providing unrestricted multi-year funding and accompaniment support for groups that are led by people impacted by statelessness and the denial of equal nationality rights. Our first phase is across 3 years and will be supporting 50 to 60 impact-led groups and activists. We envision that people impacted by statelessness globally lead in pursuing solutions to the structural exclusions that they face through long-term, resourced, collaborative strategies. And we want to see these strategies supported by civil society and donors, and we want to see them result in changes in law, policy, and practice that positively impact stateless communities. So the movement and the fund are, of course, different but complementary. Some call us sister initiatives. We see working with the movement as a crucial part of what the fund is trying to do. We can learn from the movement to understand the full impact of statelessness, to appreciate community needs and opportunities, and how to fund effectively and pursue meaningful solutions. We can support with funding and development of strategies to effect meaningful change. We believe that by working together with the global movement through strategic grant making, accompaniment, and solidarity, We can strengthen impacted-led initiatives, stateless-led initiatives, and amplify their impact. It's not easy at any point, and we're all operating in deeply uncertain times. There haven't been previous attempts of this scale to bring the global statelessness community closer together, to promote the centering of stateless people, to resource their work, and to conceive ambitious global collaborations that are rooted in local community expertise. So it is a challenge, but what a wonderful challenge to be grasped. And what a really exciting prospect for us to work together to pursue what really is a shared vision for change. Thank you very much, Deepa. Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Sabine. It's wonderful to hear about the progress of the fund. It's such an important initiative and so needed in this field. Now I'll turn it over to you, Abbas. And my question to you is, how can the global movement help amplify action towards equal nationality rights?
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Deepa, and of course, thank you for the global movement. So as you know, gender discrimination in nationality laws is a major cause of statelessness. And at the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights, which is a coalition, including many of you who are here today, we are fighting to end this discrimination against women and their families. And of course, the global movement has a key role, an important role to play in these efforts, not only in strengthening global advocacy, but most importantly, with the leadership of those who are directly impacted. Now, the global movement is already today playing a key role in connecting communities and activists and allies. And as you know, in this journey, in the fight against statelessness, against discrimination against women in nationality laws, we have come a long way in, with now the leadership of affected communities, leading and co-leading initiatives. And of course, now the global movement is making this a reality, or a perfect example, let's say. Now, at the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights, we are very proud to be members of the movement, but also to have the movement be a member of the campaign, and to collaborate together, not only to mobilize, but also to unite efforts across regions, which is something very important in the fight for equal nationality rights, is very important in our work. Lastly, I'm very pleased to say, or to announce, that the movement, the global movement, is we are working together with the global movement to on the magazine called Munasara, and the second issue of Munasara, which is on statelessness. In this issue, we are centering activists, artists, journalists, and we are very, very proud to be working with the global movement on this initiative. Now, lastly, I just wanted to say that the movement is a potential, or gives us more the potential to also create global solidarity. And this is, again, something that is very, very important in our work. So last word I want to say is that we are at the Global Campaign for Equal Nationality Rights. We are really looking forward to continuing working with all of you. And we hope that through these initiatives, we can, create the meaningful change that we are trying to do. So thank you so much, and looking forward to see what we can do together. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Abbas. Really hearing the strong theme of solidarity and collaboration beginning to arise. And finally, Daniela, as a youth activist, Daniela, what do you find the most exciting about the global movement against statelessness?
Hi, thank you, Deepa. I want to quickly say thank you, everyone, for listening. And it's really good to have a voice, because something that's exciting about the global movement against statelessness is I think this gives a platform for affected youths where they can get together and where they can have a voice. Something that I've found very helpful in my own personal journey is being able to share my experiences and being able to feel like I can make a change and that I belong. And I think this is something that's very important. This can help build a community within stateless youths where they don't feel so alone, or they don't have to go through this alone. And I'm excited because in the future I see a place where most of these organizations can be youth-led, or there are youth-led organizations. I know there are around the world, but they're not connected. And I think sorry, this gets me very emotional. I think that the global movement against statelessness is a beautiful platform where calls like this could be held for youth. It can help educate people, it can help empower, it can connect, it can really change a lot of people's lives. The future is in the youth. So I think a lot more focus and attention should be given to the youth. A lot more power should be given to the youth. And I'm excited because a lot of people have trusted me to, like, now I'm being trusted to share my voice. And I think in the future we should have more spaces here. More youth should be given the chance, because I know I'm not the only one. Obviously I'm not the only one that's gone through this, come on now. But I'm almost done. But I know there's other kids out there that can do change. They want to do change. They just don't know how, or they do know, they just don't have the platform. So I'm going to wrap it up now. And I just want to say I'm so excited for the future, because I can't wait to meet other people my age that are so passionate about it, that will bring about change. And I'm excited for when there's finally sort of a sense of community, because this has been a wonderful experience, being able to be with other people, and I can't wait until everyone else can feel this too. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela, for your incredibly beautiful, inspiring voice and vision. And thank you for being part of the movement. Now, just a reminder for everyone, you can send your questions to any of the panelists in the Q&A section of the chat. So if you have any questions for Marine, Sabine, Daniela, or Abbas, please do that. Now, we're going to move swiftly into the second round of country videos, and we have video messages from two organizations, Imkan in Pakistan and Umal in Lebanon.
My name is Tahira Hassan, and I'm the founder director of Imkan Welfare Organization. Imkan has been working in underprivileged, marginalized communities that are predominantly stateless in Pakistan since 2012. Population that faces the challenges of statelessness are predominantly those that were impacted by the creation of Bangladesh and the separation of East and West Pakistan. There is an estimated number of 3 million people and about approximately 126 communities.
6 साल की थी जब मैं खेल जिम्नास्टिक का हिस्सा बनी, और तब से ये एक शानदार सफर रहा। मैंने इंटर स्कूल सतह पर भी मुकाबले किए हैं और मीडिया पर अपनी कम्युनिटी की नुमाइंदगी की है, और दूसरी लड़कियों को जिम्नास्टिक की तरबियत देने का मौका भी मिला। आज मुझे फख्र है कि मैं जिम्नास्टिक आर्मी टीम का हिस्सा हूँ। इस सफर ने मुझे सिखाया कि अगर सभी मवाद और मौके मिले तो बहुत कुछ हासिल किया जा सकता है, और इम्कान ने मुझे यहाँ तक पहुँचाने में बहुत अहम किरदार अदा किया है।
मैं इम्कान का हिस्सा उस वक्त बना जब मैंने उसके स्पोर्ट्स प्रोग्राम के जरिए टेबल टेनिस खेलना शुरू किया। ये सफर मुझे अपनी कम्युनिटी से गहरा ताल्लुक जोड़ने का मौका फराहम करता गया, और इम्कान ने मुझे एक बामानी अंदाज में अपना किरदार अदा करने का मौका दिया। बतौर उस्ताद मैं न सिर्फ बच्चों को तालीम देता हूँ बल्कि उनकी शख्सियत साजी, खुद एतमादी, बेहतर मुस्तकबिल के लिए रहनुमाई भी करता हूँ। मेरे लिए ये सिर्फ एक नौकरी नहीं बल्कि अपने माशरे के लिए मुस्बत तब्दील लाने का एक जरिया है।
The Community Centre for Women was established in 2023 to create a safe and supportive space for women in the community. It offers life skills training, awareness sessions, recreational activities, and vocational programs, empowering women not just with personal growth opportunities, but also with the tools for economic independence.
मैं इम्कान लीगल एड सेंटर में तकरीबन 2.5 साल से काम कर रही हूँ। हमारा जो सेंटर है वो मुफ्त कानूनी इमदाद और मुशावरत फराहम करता है उन लोगों को जो अपने आईडी डॉक्यूमेंट्स या कागजात के हवाले से मुश्किलात का सामना कर रहे होते हैं। ये प्रोजेक्ट तकरीबन 2019 से शुरू हुआ था एक ऑफिस के साथ, और अब हम 3 कम्युनिटीज़ में काम कर रहे हैं और तकरीबन 1200 क्लाइंट्स को हम असिस्टेंस प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं।
मैं पिछले 3 सालों से इम्कान में काम कर रही हूँ और अपनी जिम्मेदारियां निभा रही हूँ। मच्छर कॉलोनी में जहनी सेहत शदीद मुतासिर होती है क्योंकि यहाँ तरक्की के मौके और रोजगार की कमी है। इम्कान का जहनी सेहत का मंसूबा कम्युनिटी में वाहिद ऐसा मकाम है जहाँ खवातीन, मर्द और बच्चे अपनी परेशानियों का खुलकर इजहार कर सकते हैं। इम्कान की आगाही मुहिम कम्युनिटी में सोच की बदलने में मदद कर रही है, जिससे लोगों में इस हवाले से शऊर पैदा हो रहा है।
कम्युनिटी की खवातीन के लिए एक ऐसा मुकाम होना जहां वो अपने ज़चगी की सेहत के हवाले से मशावरत हासिल कर सकें, अल्ट्रासाउंड करवा सकें, बच्चे की पैदाइश कर सकें। बेशनाख्त खवातीन सरकारी अस्पताल से मदद हासिल नहीं कर सकती और इनके पास निजी अस्पतालों में जाने की पैसे भी नहीं होते। इम्कान ने कम्युनिटी में एक ऐसा तिब्बी माहौल कायम किया है जो तमाम खवातीन के लिए खुला है, चाहे उनकी शनाख्त हो या ना हो।
Statelessness denies identity, dignity, and rights, but we believe that unity can change that. The global movement against statelessness gives us hope, showing the power of collective action to drive real change. Together, we remain committed to the fight for a future where everyone belongs.
مرحبا، أنا نورين. أنا ساري. وأنا أمال. عمال جمعية مدنية غير ربحية تأسست عام 2013 بلبنان للدفاع عن حقوق الإنسان. بتوعنا عمال بقضايا حقوقية وإنسانية عديدة، ولعل أبرزها هي قضية انعدام الجنسية. فنحن بندافع عن حقوق عديمي الجنسية بلبنان اللي بينتموا لكافة الفئات، كانت فئة قيد الدرس، فئة مكتومي القيد، الغجر، البدو، الدوم وغيرهم. يقدر عدد عديمي الجنسية بلبنان ب100,000، قد يتم تهميشهم بالعديد من الأحيان، وهناك صعوبة دائمة بأنهم يحصلوا على حقوقهم الأساسية كالحق بالتعلم، بالصحة، الطبابة، التوظيف، الضمان الاجتماعي وغيره. الأمر يلي بيجعل هذه الفئة مستضعفة ومن السهل أنه يتم استغلالها.
أسباب انعدام الجنسية هي كثير متعددة، ممكن نردها ل3 مجموعات أساسية: أسباب تاريخية، أسباب ترتبط بالسياسة التشريعية، وأسباب إدارية. الأسباب التاريخية ترتبط بنشأة أو إعلان دولة لبنان الكبير، ومن ثم بترتبط كمان بالإقصاء اللي صار أثناء الإحصاء اللي حصل بعام 1932، وبترتبط بوضع لبنان كدولة مضيفة للاجئين. أما عن الأسباب اللي بترتبط بالسياسة التشريعية أو بالقوانين اللبنانية، فبنحكي عن القانون اللي بيرعى مسألة الجنسية، واللي هو المرسوم الاجتراعي رقم 15 الصادر عام 1925. مش حكما كل شخص يلد على الأراضي اللبنانية ولبنان حكما، وبالتالي يجب أن يستوفي مجموعة من الشروط. فضلا إلى هذا وجود بعض النصوص التمييزية والتي تحمل على التمييز ما بين الذكور والإناث في نقل الجنسية لأولادهم. أما عن الأسباب الإدارية فهي متعددة وكثيرة، ممكن نردها إلى عدم معرفة، وممكن نردها إلى عدم القدرة المادية أو اللوجستية حتى لنكون عم نقوم بعمليات التشغيل بحسب ترتيبها.
من خلال برنامج مكتوم أيد بنسعى أن نساعد الأشخاص عديمي الجنسية وخاصة مكتومي. في عندنا مشروعين بيندرجوا تحت هذا البرنامج. المشروع الأول هو مشروع المناصرة، والمشروع الثاني هو مشروع شبكة مكتوم أيد. في مشروع المناصرة بنقوم بتقديم الدعم القانوني، المناصرة السياسية، وإقامة العديد من ورش العمل التدريبية. بالمشروع الثاني عم نحاول إنه نوحد الجهود تبع العديد من المنظمات والجمعيات والأفراد كانوا أكاديميين أو ناشطين بمجال انعدام الجنسية، لنقدر نوصل لحل كامل متكامل ويضل عندنا اطلاع لكل حدا على كل حدا شو عم يشتغل. كذلك الأمر عم نقوم بتطوير برنامج يلي هو تطبيق مكتوم ايه اللي بيسهل كتير التواصل بين أفراد هيدي الشبكة أو هيدا النتورك، كذلك الأمر بينهم وبين الأشخاص عديم الجنسية.
انعدام الجنسية هو منه شيء معروف، بس هو شيء واقع، ومنه شيء جديد، هو شيء كتير قديم، ومش بس هو محلي، هو عالمي. ما لازم ولا شخص يبقى بلا هوية وينحرم من حقوقه. بعمال ملتزمين بهيدي القضية للأخير، سواء من الناحية القانونية أو الإصلاح السياسي بالنضال تيتمكنوا عديمي الجنسية سواء بلبنان أو الخارج من إنه يوصلوا لحقوقهم.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. To Imkan and Umal for sharing with us the context and the challenges relating to statelessness that you're facing, as well as your really important work. Now, with that, we're going to switch gears and hear from the interim core group, specifically to share updates from the interim core group. We have Christy Chitengu. Christy is one of the two co-leads of the global movement against statelessness. She is a public interest lawyer specializing in constitutional litigation and human rights. Welcome, Christy. Now, Christy, we would love to hear from you about the movement's activities, future plans, and upcoming events. And very importantly, what are some opportunities for engagement for participants in this call? The floor is yours, Christy.
Thank you so much, Deepa, and thank you to everyone for joining this call. It's wonderful to see you all here. And on behalf of my co-lead, we also wanted to extend our gratitude for you all making the time to join us here today. And so some updates on the global movement. As always, our strength lies in engaging our membership and engaging impacted persons to ensure that our work is truly stateless-led, inclusive, and actually has an impact on those who are directly affected. And so like today's call, we plan on hosting some more community calls to deepen our engagement at a grassroots level and to ensure that our members are connected and can share insights and exchange strategies and good practices from various communities and in various regions. And so these conversations are at the heart of the movement, which is ensuring that our work is guided by those who are directly impacted. We're also committed to building capacity, particularly around risk and safety concerns faced by stateless people. As the movement, we are not lost to the fact that being a part of stateless activism and advocacy often is risky, and especially when you're going against bureaucracies and governments and states that are not often collaborative. And so we are looking into seeing how we can optimize and support stateless communities and individuals or activists and advocates working on these issues to ensure that their activism and advocacy is not stifled, and if it is, how we can support their work to continue safely. Also, we value the importance of partnerships. Seeing as we're only a year old, we do value that there have been a lot of existing regional organizations, community-led organizations that have been showcased on this call. And so we value the historical work that has been ongoing, and we're open and looking towards fostering partnerships and collaborations with them. We're also working with the Global Alliance to End Statelessness and look to contributing through the advisory committee role and hoping to partner with other stateless-led organizations that are part of that, and also to be able to directly engage states that have committed and committed themselves to this advisory committee. Moving forward, we really want to focus on coordinating and supporting advocacy campaigns of our own and those that are already existing, and we want to optimize our social media and communications. As Abbas mentioned, we're partnering with the Mansara magazine, and we hope through that we can extend reach and impact and share stories, as well as actually educate many people who are not familiar with the movement, as well as other initiatives. And just some of my final thoughts. I'm aware that we're low on time. I just wanted to emphasize that the movement is wanting to engage with our membership and with other organizations that are already existing and doing work. And so at every stage where we show community calls, or we want to engage with you, we thoroughly encourage you to participate, reach out, sign up to our mailing list if you have not already done so, because the strength lies in our collective efforts. And that's the only way we can actually make a difference in statelessness globally. So we really welcome and appreciate all of your solidarity and commitment to the work of the movement. Thank you, Deepa.
Thank you so much, Christine. You did a great job at summarizing it, so much so that we have a minute left to ask you a quick question. And I'd love to hear from you, what are you most excited about in terms of the plans and future activities of the global movement?
I think what I'm most excited about is engaging with our membership more. I think we have such a great membership base already, with almost over 200 members. And so to be able to put a face on those members and to hear their insights and reflections, I think it's important for them to inform our work. And so for me, that's the one thing I'm really keen on and looking forward to.
Great. Thank you so much, Christy. So we really heard how important it is to continue to support advocates doing work around statelessness, especially given the risks involved. We heard about the importance of partnerships and collaborations across a range of actors, from statelessness-led organizations to global initiatives to governments. And the global movement is continuing to look to how to coordinate and support ongoing advocacy campaigns, not just of the movement itself, but of your partners. So thank you for that, Christy. That was amazing. And now we're going to move on to another creative element of today's call, to a compelling photography presentation. And I'm really, really delighted to introduce you to Muhammad Salim Khan. Muhammad Salim is a Nansen Refugee Award recipient for the Asia and Pacific in 2023 and the founder of the Rohingya Photography School. Welcome, Muhammad Salim. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I should to say thanks the global movement for statelessness. As a statelessness is really it's really a great thing for me. So I am much appreciate with this opportunity to say to represent some things from the Rohingya community. uh, we have been suffering as a long time. The Myanmar military government, they have been persecuting to us systematically as a long decades. And even my parents become refugee 1991 in Bangladesh. I born in refugee camp also in 93. And now I have passed more than 3 decades refugee life here, and we don't have the nationality inside Myanmar in Bangladesh also. And when I received the Nansen Refugee Award from the Geneva, I was unable. I was unable to go there because of the statelessness. I was not able to receive my own award from there directly. So everyone who got the Nansen from other country and other side, they were able to receive and go. But with the Rohingya, we were unable to do that. Anyway, let me. I'm going to say something about the photography. Why I'm doing. Why is it important for my community? So, as through my lens, I don't just take photos. I tell stories of resilience, of pain, of hope. Photograph, uh, I'm sorry. Uh, Through my lens, I don't just take photos. I tell stories of resilience, of pain, of hope. Photography allows me to capture moment. That's what open field to express. Each image is a window into the lives of my people. The Rohingya making the unseen visible. It's not just about documenting suffering. Is is about uh, uh, is about preserving identity, dignity, and fight for a future where we are seen and heard. As an Nansen award-winning photographer, my work bridges the gap between my community and the world, creating empathy and understanding beyond words. Through powerful visual, I connect with a wide audience, humanizing our struggle, resilience, and hope. Photography allows people to feel our reality, fostering awareness and inspiring action. Photography gives a voice to the unheard, capturing pain, resilience, and hope. It's how people see not just level, but uh, with, uh, just not level, but real lives, mother, father, and children with dreams. When a photo makes someone feel, it's more them to act. Thank you.
Mohammed Salim, thank you so much for sharing your really powerful and moving photographs. The work that you do is so important, and we are so honored to have you here and part of the movement. Thank you. Now,
I'd like to say something about my photography school, if you have the time. I think so.
Please say something.
Thank you. Uh, uh, I'm the founder of Rohingya Photography School, and I have 10 members. We are working in the world largest refugee camp, Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. Our aim is to empower youth through by photography. Photography is a great skill, and with this thing, we can make documentary about our life, and we can show other peoples around the world about our culture and so many things. So when I received Nansen Refugee Award honorarium, I did. Trained more than 300 youths in my community with those honorarium. Now we have more plan and many are interested to take photography train. So we really need support, financial support to make them possible for my community to bring a positive changing. This is what I am doing with my team is really to empower people. Hope you understand. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Mohammed Salim. We are so excited to see what the students in your school do. If they have you as their mentor, I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be moving on to the keynote address for today's webinar. And the keynote address is entitled The State of Statelessness in the World Today. And for that, I'm honored to present our keynote speaker, Joshua Castellino. Welcome, Joshua. A bit of a quick intro on Joshua before I hand it over to him. He is currently the co-executive director of the Minority Rights Group International and professor of international and comparative law at University of Derby, UK. He will move to Brunel University as founding dean of the College of Arts, Law, and the Social Sciences in April 2025. Joshua, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Wow, what an inspiring space, and how lucky are Mohammed students. I mean, what a brilliant photography. The power of your photography is, I think, just reflects the power of your imagination, and that's amazing. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and apologies if there's background noise behind me. I was reflecting on the fact that it's hard to believe it's 1 year since the global movement was launched, and just the power of that conversation in Malaysia has stayed with me throughout the year. So I want to just reflect, I guess, on 3 words: despondency, hope, and pathways. The despondency first, and in a sense, it's almost like the whole world is realized in that single image of that man standing beside the seat of power in the United States of America with his arm raised in that despicable gesture. It seems like the whole world has realized that there's a problem with the extractive, state-based, patriarchal, hegemonic system. And that seems to have been designed to send everybody into despair. The fact is, folks, people who have been stateless have known about this for a long time. It's just the rest of the world that's waking up to where a patriarchy based on this kind of power hegemony can lead to, and it can only lead to that. And in some senses, it struck me that one of the legacies that persons of European descent have left on the planet is this form of supremacy. And that this particular form of supremacy has not just had an impact on settler colonial places, but it's also had a major impact across the world. And those lines that were referred to so many times, those lines drawn upon maps where no European feet have ever trod, have transformed into states, as if, the state is the inevitable consequence of history. But actually, when you look at the state, it's just a very specific type of political governance that emerges from one specific political ideology, and that's the European political ideology. In other places, there haven't been states. There have been kingdoms, there have been empires, there have been emirates, there have been those closer to those sites of power, then there have been edges, then there have been other sites of power, and people have moved beyond them. But in constructing this state and giving it to us as a so-called decolonization process, European legacy may have actually left a bigger and more bitter pill than many others. So much for the despondency. And I think that's the despondency we are in. And it seems to me like a lot of people who are otherwise progressive have begun to realize for the first time exactly how steep the slope is that we need to climb. But that's where the hope comes in. And the hope really is the fact that I have witnessed now how this movement, global movement on statelessness, has begun to grow as an idea. And I've heard these inspiring interventions today. I mean, it's mind-blowing, really. I think it seems to me that the people who are on the front line of disadvantage and the people who are the most disadvantaged in so many ways appear to be, they've got their marching boots on, they're moving, they're doing stuff. They're not admiring the spread of the desert, they're acting, and they're taking real meaningful steps. And I think that's a source of hope that the current anthropocentric, patriarchal, hegemonic state system wants to actively stop. So there are active attempts made through things like social media to make sure that we all feel this sense of helplessness. And when you reflect on how people have been made helpless by design, and statelessness is nothing more than a process, a man-made process of helplessness that's inflicted on communities with a very specific purpose of keeping them far from power. When you look at how stateless people at the moment are reacting, and activists among you, I mean, there's nearly 100 people on this call, and every one of you is playing a role in some shape or form and challenging this. This is a pathway. And I think this pathway is a source of inspiration. At Minority Rights Group, we work at the moment on around 40 interventions that touch around 63 countries. And the fact is, minorities and indigenous peoples are not despondent. I'm not saying they're hopeful. They're not, but they're not despondent. They don't have the luxury of despair. And I think that's the key. That's such a key element in uniting us in these times. We do not have the luxury of despair. Muhammad is out there taking photographs. He gets an honorarium. He doesn't spend it on himself. He creates a school. He's multiplying the impact of it. Zahara's work. I mean, these are all just little vignettes of the fact that you see that people who have this lived experience, when they come together with people who understand how a system can be tuned and challenged and changed, can have the impact it needs to have. But that good news story will always be suppressed, because those good news stories, if they spread, will lead to the actual process we need. And what we need is the silent revolution. We need the process by which the wealth that has been constructed and placed in the hands of the few at the cost of the many needs to be seized. We're still operating in a world where we think if we make some reasonable, rational, fact-based arguments, that somehow power will abdicate and allow others in. That's not been true for a long time. It takes an FW clerk, de Klerk, to talk to a Mandela to understand that power has to be shared. There are not many FW clerks, de Klerks out there. There are other South Africans that should not be named instead, who understand that you can capture power and you can keep it in your hegemonic hands and make sure that any contestation of that is smashed. So those are the three words I want to share with you, Deepa. I mean, the despondency that exists all around us has to be challenged by vision. So many of you on this call are privileged enough to have that vision. You may not be privileged in other ways, but you're privileged enough to dream. And you're privileged and fortunate enough to be able to create this environment where you can share others' experiences and talk to each other. We need to hear those movements, and we need a very, very big megaphone, and we need a whole bunch of skills in order to unravel the hegemonic patriarchal system that we've created. I don't know if it'll happen today. I don't know if it'll happen tomorrow. I don't know if it'll happen next year. But I know that the weight of our collective imaginations and the skill sets that we have must and can bring these systems down. And that's the only way in which we can all survive on this planet. Thank
you. Joshua, thank you so much for that incredibly powerful message, and so important to situate where we are now with the colonial backdrop of how states are even formed and how so many stateless situations were developed. And I really, really appreciated your message on not having the luxury of despondency and really drawing from examples that we are seeing on the call of people with lived experience making changes in the community in really concrete ways and taking pain and suffering into action. So thank you for that inspiring message. And with that, we're going to be moving to the final stage of our webinar, which is where we hear from all of you through your questions. So you can keep adding the questions. Our team is going to be curating some of them. I'll also invite all of you to share in the chat suggestions on what you'd like the movement to focus on moving forward. So have a think about that. Feel free to share that in the chat. Now I'm going to ask a couple of questions. Let's see. Okay, I think the first question, Daniela, if you don't mind, we're going to put you on the spot. Daniela, what practical steps do you think that the global movement can take to create more spaces for youth to connect and build community and also drive change?
I think there needs to be, well, it needs to start first kind of at a local level, which is more easy, where the voices are being heard, and that's already being done. I think what the global movement against statelessness should do should reach out to those organizations and just, it's a lot of, I think, networking that needs to be done, where the names need to be like brought forward, right? And then there needs to be like a call, or maybe it could start like a group chat, or for example, on Reddit, there's nothing. Reddit is like a forum platform where literally everything, on Reddit, there's no statelessness page. So even creating a page on Reddit, a place online where people can talk. And then, because email isn't really for youth, not that, so it needs to, sorry, try and connect more with them. And then once the group is established, we can make calls like this, even, because where we can connect and just talk, or there's a vision I see myself as my personal project, maybe if I can put it in here. I want to make like a network where stateless youths, they can talk, right? And then there will be like a sector for maybe resources they might need, a sector for maybe artwork they can post. So I think it's just creating the platform. And the step is just finding them and adding them somewhere where they can talk. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Daniela. Yeah, really hearing about how we can make the movement be more relevant and connect with youth in a way that they receive and that they're actually already engaging. Thank you so much for that. Okay, another question, and some really, really great questions here. Some of them are a bit long, so I'm going to try to summarize it, and maybe someone can add the questions in full in the chat. This next question I'm going to pick is for Joshua. Now, the question reads, Trump, Putin, Modi, Netanyahu, so many others, they all put narrow self-interest above all else, including international law and frameworks. What have we been doing wrong? And what do we need to do better to build a world that's more benefiting of its people? Really big question for you, Joshua.
Wow, it's a great question, but it's in a sense a simple answer, I would suggest. That if we could replace one thing, I would replace greed with empathy. These are all people you have described who essentially benefit from the current patriarchal hegemonic system. And so, of course, we were sold the idea of decolonization, right, in 1945, and we celebrated. We went from 51 states in 1945 to 193 now, right? And we're supposed to be happy with that. In fact, decolonization is something that's used a lot, but decolonization was nothing but privatization of a colony, where power was handed from one set of men to another set of handpicked men who are always majorities. They were given the keys to the kingdom. They moved into the same palaces. They used the same laws, and they actually inherited the same discriminations against marginalized people. So what we have been doing wrong, and I think for many, that image on the inauguration day of the US president brought it home. What we have been doing wrong is we've not realized that there was only one solution. There was only one final destination if we were going to build a patriarchal hegemonic system, and that's what you're seeing. So this is the direct consequence of not paying enough attention to the need for social justice and being convinced that creating a human rights system and trying to put it into laws would be enough. It wasn't enough. We had to take movements with us, and we had to rely on real change. I'm here speaking at a conference in Scotland, and I spoke this morning, and I said, you know, the human rights movement has got a lot of moral victories, but where's the money gone? We haven't got the money back. We need the money. We don't need to get hold of these people and make them face punishment. I mean, I'd love to see that punishment too, but more than that, I want to see the money they've stolen from the system go back into the system, into the health, into the education, into solving marginalization. That's not happening. And, you know, even now with the conversation with Bashar al-Assad, you know, I mean, I'm sure, of course, he's done terrible things to Syria and should face the consequences of it. And I hope he does, but I also hope we pay as much attention to where the money has gone. That is going to be crucial to rebuilding Syria. Otherwise, we're not deconstructing the hegemonies in the way we are. We're just fine-tuning it.
Yeah, absolutely, Joshua. Thank you for that. Now, the next question. Okay, so the next question is to Sabine, and this is from a refugee-led initiative based in Bangladesh, who says that we face significant challenges due to lack of funding despite our critical work in documenting human rights violations against the Rohingya and advocating for justice. Given the urgent need to address statelessness and support transitional justice, is there any opportunities to secure a grant from the Global Statelessness Fund to strengthen our efforts? So maybe, Sabine, if you can just share more broadly, what is the mechanism to provide grants to stateless organizations across the globe?
Sure, thank you, Deepa, and it's a great question. I mean, the need for funding impacts so many, and in particular those really working in difficult and challenging contexts, and that need for funding and the challenges in accessing it have become significantly greater recently, I think. So, I mean, we're really excited about the prospect of funding 50 to 60 groups over the coming years. It's also one of our priorities and one of our objectives to raise awareness about statelessness, about the sort of intersecting human rights issues, and about the amazing work being done by many sort of grassroots initiatives. we want to raise awareness amongst the donor community, amongst the sort of philanthropic community, so that they know that this is really an issue that needs to be prioritized. It's not well known, and it's seen as a side issue. And actually, we really believe that it's something that if you want to address, whether it's climate, whether it's women's rights, whether it's children's rights, statelessness, and funding and supporting stateless-led groups has to come into it. For our own processes, we're actually having town halls really soon, on 17th and 18th of March, which are town halls for civil society, for interested groups, to learn more about our grant-making approach, what the next steps are, and to understand what the opportunity is, what the limitations are, and how you can be involved. So we'll share the link in the chat for the sign up for the town halls. You are all welcome. Please come along. You can also sort of explore a bit more on our website about the approaches that we're taking and learn a bit more about that. Follow us on social media and these sorts of things. And all of this sort of sheds light a bit on what we're trying to do. Thanks.
Great, Sabine. That's great to know, and we're looking forward to that town hall, the details of that. We've got time for a couple more questions, I think. So there's one question to Maureen. Now, the question is, how can the Global Alliance be leveraged in cases where there is an impasse, especially if statelessness is a result of arbitrary removal of nationality? That's the whole question. Yeah. The question continues, in this case, statelessness is a direct result of any action by government. Let me see. I'm trying to summarize this for you. Okay, I'll finish reading out the question and then we'll see what to take away from it. Everything has been tried, the question continues. Litigation, advocacy, and others, especially in post-conflict societies where there's a risk to life. So I guess the question to you is, how can the Global Alliance be leveraged, especially when there is situations of arbitrary denial of nationality?
Thank you so much for the question. Indeed, there are very negative developments recently, especially in MENA, in relation to arbitrary citizenship deprivation by a number of countries, and we've been discussing within the alliance, and of course, the strength of the alliance lies in its members. And we've been discussing how to best utilize and leverage the collective power of the alliance. We've came with the solution, or with the way forward to address such sensitive issues through mobilizing and basically giving the floor to our members of the alliance. And we, for example, have the Office of the UN Human Rights Commissioner, OHCHR, as a member of the alliance and advisory committee member. So the alliance can provide information updates, confidential updates to OHCHR, both at headquarters level, but also regionally and on the ground, to mobilize and utilize the UN human rights mechanisms, for example, to raise this issue through the treaty bodies, the UPR reviews, and special procedures. The alliance can also facilitate quiet diplomacy behind closed doors by utilizing the power of our regional intergovernmental organizations and champion states that can apply behind the scene pressure on those governments and basically raise the issue in bilateral discussions or negotiations through the lens of human rights. We can also support protection by joining or uniting, providing details to those affected and connecting them with members of the alliance that provide legal assistance and support with litigation. We have, for example, PILNet as a member of the alliance, and PILNet has wide range and scope of organizations, legal professionals that support pro bono such cases. And of course, this can be brought up to the regional courts if there are no national or avenues at the national level left. And communications, raising awareness, targeted advocacy to shift the narratives, the state narratives, and promote engagement both at national level but also cross-border, I think is really really important, and the Alliance can really champion this work by utilizing and promoting the members. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. And I think with that, we at the end of our Q&A section, there was a couple more really interesting questions, which unfortunately we don't have the time to address, but really wanting to thank all the questions, your active engagement, and really taking away a few important things from this Q&A session. To Joshua's point, the importance of recognizing the deep structural changes that are needed in our system, changing money flows, connecting with youth, to Daniela's point, making sure we're really connecting with as many members of all different demographics as possible, because everyone has a really important role to play. Raising the consciousness of the donor community of the importance of funding statelessness groups, and also with the work of the Alliance, just all the different intersectional ways that solutions can be found and collaborations can be made. So thank you so much once again. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our amazing co-lead, Christy, for the global movement, or the co-chair rather, of the global movement, to offer some closing remarks. And Christy, if I may, there was a question that came in for you, and I don't know if you want to incorporate it or not, but I think it was a lovely question. And so the question is, Patricia's words from her poem, quote, "Every breath is existence and every breath is resistance," end quote. The question is, what can the movement take from this, and how can it transform its very existence into a more strategic and effective resistance on behalf of the stateless communities around the world? The floor is yours, Christy.
Thank you, Deepa. That is a beautiful quote from that poem. And it's an important question and a very difficult one to answer. But I think in and of itself, that quote explains what I think the core of the movement's messaging and ideology is, which is the way in which we are able to be an effective movement is by breathing life into it through individuals, through community-based organizations who are able to contribute their realities and their experiences. And it's only through authenticity and lived experience that we're able to build resilient strategies and be more sustainable and pointed in our approach and in the way in which we address statelessness. So I think that's a beautiful quote in and of itself. I don't know if I've done it justice in my interpretation, but I do see it as a mirror of what the movement intends to do, is through we can build resilience through breathing life into the movement with people's lived experiences. And in parting, I do just want to reiterate our appreciation for everyone on this call in terms of their commitment and time to this call, but also in all of your efforts that go on outside of this. And we just want to thank you for your solidarity and commitment to the statelessness movement. And we look forward to engaging with you further and enriching our efforts through collaboration, participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christy, for that. Now, as we come to a close in our final few minutes, I just want to invite all of you to please join the movement and spread the word in your communities. The link to sign up for the mailing list is just being shared right now, as well as the website, so you can learn more about the movement and learn more about how you can be involved in this important work. And just as we are about to close, just some final words of inspiration from Martin Luther King Jr. as we continue the fight against statelessness. And the quote is, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it always bends towards justice." With that, thank you so much, everyone. Shukran, gracias. We look forward to engaging all of you as part of the movement moving forward. Thank you. Have a wonderful morning, evening, and the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.